system again. You got to do 3 seconds before it's over.
Well guys, it's that time again. Time for the dreaded 100-hour service on my 2003 Yamaha 115 4-stroke. I put about 200 hours a year on this boat, so I got to do this about twice a year. I've already done the motor oil. I shot a video of that. I'll put a link to that near the end of the video, so if you want to see how to do that portion of the 100-hour, you can go do that. Right now we're doing the lower gear case oil, lower unit oil. Items you're going to need, or at least recommended, is a rag, oil drain pan, pretty beefy screwdriver, and I always keep a pair of vice grips on hand so I can grab onto that screwdriver. Sometimes those screws get crusted in there and I just need extra torque on my screwdriver, so I use vice grips for that. A jug of Yamaha gear lube. Now there's aftermarket gear lube out there. Personally, I run all genuine Yamaha stuff, just because. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's the right stuff. And then it helps to have the pump that pumps it up in there. Now there's two pumps laying here. One's an OMC pump, one's a Yamaha pump. They got different threads on them that thread into the gear case, and I can't remember which is which, so they're both laid out here. And of course my little roll around stool, because it's a lot easier to sit and do this than bend over. So what you got is you got a couple of screws. There's one for checking the level, and that one really doesn't have much purpose other than when you're draining, letting air in the hole, and that when you refill this, you pump it in from the bottom up to it running out that hole. The screw that gets a lot of the action that you got to mess with is this lower one here. So what we're going to want to do to drain it is put the pan under there, get that screw out. Now it's going to drip a tiny bit, but not much, because this gear case is sealed, and it's going to have the effect much like holding your finger over the end of the straw. This screw up here is going to hold air suction on it or whatever, and it's not going to really let it drain out the bottom one. So once we got the bottom one out, then we're going to take this top one out, and it'll come pouring out. So let me put the camera in the tripod and follow along. Alright, so you're going to want your oil pan under the skeg down here, because when this oil comes out, it's going to just gravitate and hold onto that skeg and run off the bottom of it. So you don't want it just an oil pan just under the hole. You want it under that skeg. But you want it under the hole because at first it might squirt out of there pretty good. So take out your lower plug. Now your lower plug is going to have a magnet on it, and it's going to grab up all the shavings from grinding your gears. And as you can see, just a little tiny bit dripped out. I don't have a lot of shavings. A little bit is normal. You don't want this looking milky, I can tell you that. If it's milky, it looks like chocolate milk, you've got water in your gear case. You've got a leak or a problem somewhere. And you want to get that out as fast as possible, because especially if you're in salt water, because it's going to rust your gears and bearings up in there and just take out your lower unit. So you want to clean off all the shavings off of that screw. Now the people that run their boats, I see them out on the water, I've sometimes been on their boats, that when they put it in gear, they go grinding it in gear, grrr, clunk. They end up with a lot more shavings on this plug. That's not a good way to shift your gears and put it in gear and all. When you put a outboard in gear, you want to give that throttle lever a stab and get her in gear so those gears aren't down there grinding. Now I've got problems. So my oil's milky, so I've got a leak somewhere, so I'm gonna have to get that figured out. Right now I'm just going to change it and I'm going to worry about that another day, but as quickly as possible. I want to get this stuff out of here and get fresh oil in there so it don't rust up. Now there's supposed to be a seal on this screw, and it didn't just come out with it. There it is right there. And quite honestly, that could be my problem. It's kind of messed up. That's where the oil could be getting in. Could be a shaft seal back here at the prop. Could be the seals at the top. And I'm going to run up to my dealer and get some new seals for these plugs while this drains. And as you can see, as I take this top plug out, it really starts rushing out. Alright, I'm going to let that drain. Go buy some parts. Okay, as you guys saw when I was getting into this thing, had some water in my gear case. Now this is what good oil is supposed to look like. Pretty clear. If you get in here and your oil looks like this, milky. I'm trying to get the light right, but just milky looking. That's not good. It could be water. Well, it is water that does that. Now what I'm hoping is I get stupid lucky and my old plug gaskets were in pretty rough shape. So that red one's a brand new one. That's what they're supposed to look like, and this is what I had. Now if it's not that letting the water in, there's seals on that shaft right there where it goes in. Then the drive shaft that comes down from the power head runs through the water pump and into the top of the gear case is seals there too, keep the water out. So you know, normally on my 100-hour service I do the water pump too, but what I'm going to do in this case is change out this gear lube, put these new plug gaskets in, and I'm going to run it a couple trips and see if I get water back in it. If I get water back in it again, then I know that these little guys were probably okay. The water didn't come in there, and it either came in that shaft for the prop or the input shaft for the top of the gearbox. And then the time to do the input shaft that they're up there for the top of the gearbox is when you do a water pump. I mean, you're 3/4 of the way there when you get to the water pump. So I'm going to hold off on the water pump at my 100-hour. I'll probably run up to 110 hours or something, and then evaluate my gear case lube, and that'll tell me if I need to do that top seal when, you know, I'm in the water pump. But okay, let's get these you know, get this gear case filled back up with lube here. There's my jug, there's my pump. We're gonna hook all this up and show you how you do it. Now this pump's real simple. All you do is stick it in the top of your jug here. I'm gonna go ahead and thread it on the in the lower unit fill. Thread it in the top of the jug. You tilt your motor so it's down level. That looks pretty level there. And then you pump it till it comes out that top hole. The pump's not primed right now. You pump it up till it runs out that top hole. I give it a couple extra pumps, let it run out real good, and let it level off there. The non-magnetic plug goes in the top. So put the new gasket on. Let that thing level itself off. Now there's a torque spec for this screw. I don't know what it is, and I don't know, I just put them pretty tight. like so. Okay, now the suction pressure, like holding your finger over the straw, will keep too much of that lube from running out the bottom when you take this off. But you get your bottom plug ready. Make sure it's good and clean. I want to give a shout out to Greg at Manatee Marine. It's Saturday late afternoon, and all the parts houses are closed around here. But Greg's the general manager up there at Manatee Marine in Stuart, Florida. And I didn't even call him. I just ran up there and begged him to leave the general manager post and run over there in the parts and hook me up with a couple of these new little red gaskets. And he was very happy to do it. Didn't give me any grief at all. So give him a free plug. I appreciate that, Greg. I really needed these parts today. So okay, let's take this out. You see just a little bit runs out because of the suction. There. Run it up a little bit so I can get my screwdriver under it. And snug her on up, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully I'll check this in after a couple trips and I won't have any more water in here. So that's how you service the lower unit on a outboard, and pretty much every outboard I've ever owned is the same way. OMCs, Yamahas, Mercs, I even had a Force once, and it's all pretty much the same. So there you go. Hopefully I instilled a little knowledge and pride of ownership and some pride in doing your own maintenance. If you like what I'm showing you and teaching you, I would really appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share with your friends, share on message boards, whatever you want to do, help promote what I'm doing here. Don't forget to check out the oil change video if you'd like to know how to change your oil in a 4-stroke. And y'all be safe out there on the water. Catch 'em up.